Yo, what's going on, internet? Today I'm actually painting myself. This is actually the very first self-portrait I am painting of myself, which is crazy because I've never done that before. So congratulations, you guys got me to do it. But I'll be using, like in my other videos, the Nova Color paints as well as the Behr Premium Plus sample paints. You can get those at the paint shop. The brushes that I will be using today, there's going to be just a few, and I think I'll have them in the description. Basically, it's brushes that you can get at any paint store. It's nylon, I believe the synthetic nylon one, or the synthetic ones. They usually have like the sort of the white bristle, and they're really soft. Those are the sort of brushes that I really like, but they're cheap. You can get them in a value pack as well, because you don't need super expensive brushes to actually create, the art that you want to. But like in many of the other videos, it's like I'll start out with the darkest areas and then just basically move out from there. Usually, like I said, the darkest areas that I'll do them with like a dark blue, and then I'll just use some other dark colors that are slightly a little bit brighter but have a different sort of hue to it. So I'll use some cold, and then I'll use some warm dark colors to sort of do the darkest areas, and then I'll sort of just move from there, lighter and lighter, and then I'll hit up the mid-tones, but that'll be later down the line in this video. So I just wanted to give you a great introduction of sort of like what I'm painting, and then I'll sort of just chime in from time to time about some of the different steps that I'll be taking throughout this piece.
That's what's up. 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 That's what's up.
So this stage, I sort of finished laying in that red and that sort of mustard color. So that's like a mid-tone that leans more towards some darker areas, and then I start to lean into the mid-tones that are sort of the lighter areas, and that's how I'm starting to connect some of these different areas as well as just start to fill in the rest of the piece. I also will throw in some random colors here and there, just to give a different feel, because if I can, I could probably do this whole piece with different values of red, but it's just more fun throwing in different colors that I'll have just laying around, and I'll try to see exactly where I can throw them. So I'll do that from time to time. But one also thing that I do is basically I use the cap of the actual jar of paint or bottle of paint to actually use to actually hold the paint, and sometimes mix the paint with other colors. That is something that I just gotten used to doing, so that you'll see me do that very often, rather than having sort of like a regular sort of palette or something that kind of holds the paint. So I'll do that pretty often. But for me, just using a wide number of colors is super exciting. Going from the lighter values to the darker values to the darker values to the lighter values is always something that I love, just seeing how they sort of work together beside each other. So when I'm picking out a reference photo, basically the more contrast there is, meaning the darks and the lights, there's a lot of each. Those are some of the best photos, because I'm able to use a ton of various colors to sort of create the form. When a photo is super flat, when there's not a lot of shadows, that's when it's really difficult to figure out sometimes where to add some of those different colors. But when you have a lot of transitions from dark to lights, like under the nose or the eyebrow, things like that, the fist, whatever, that's when you get really exciting pieces, because there's just so many different values and colors you can sort of throw in there and beside each other, and they all sort of give it more of a dramatic feel. So that is something that I always sort of think about whenever I'm taking photos, is how much contrast there is in a photo. So now that the entire portrait is filled with color, this is when the real fun begins. This is when I'm really just able to start sort of really bringing the piece forward, building different layers. So like this part of the lips, I'm sort of putting in those lighter colors to give it more of a form, more shape. And that's what I start to do around the entire piece. And that is really when the painting starts to sort of come off of the canvas in different areas. So the lighter you get, the more of the piece comes off, and then the darker that you get, that you add, the more that it sort of sinks into the actual canvas. That's sort of really how you start to build those different forms. Basically is just with the values of those colors. And once you start to learn how to use that, you're able to use any color that you want to, and figure out exactly where to put it and how it will result in terms of making a form sort of pop off of the page. A lot of times people don't realize that I don't use black. The darkest color that I will use is sort of this, a blue or a purple or a dark sort of red that sort of sometimes can come off as black when you're sort of not really up close on it. But for me, that black sometimes makes it a little bit too harsh. So I'll use a really, really dark purple, which is what I did for this hat, the brim of the hat. And for me, it's the same color that I use for the pupils and the eyelid as a base, or some of the darkest areas in the face. So for me, it's something that I just started doing when I first started out. I always used to be a black and white portrait artist when I started out, probably about 20 years ago, with airbrush. But once I started using color, I saw exactly how colors can be used together to really, really pop. So I got away from just using black, and a lot of times I don't even use white, other than sort of small little highlights in different areas. But for me, using a really, really dark purple or a really, really dark blue definitely complements the colors beside it, and doesn't make it as harsh or as flat sometimes as it could have been. So hopefully you liked this process video. Like I said, I'm going to do more of these in the future, so definitely stay tuned. Like, subscribe, hit that bell notification so that you're notified whenever I do videos like this, and I will see you next time. Peace.